What's poppin', y'all? After a major crash out by Ebro against Rosenberg, longtime co-host, these guys decided to come back for the next day, capitalizing on the situation, and go over everything. So this is just a brief clip of what happened initially.
We'll say the one other interesting thing, though, while I saw the commentary moving around, that everyone was like, wow, Charlemagne made academics look stupid, which is not a huge shock based on seeing them together. I would kind of predict that result. But I will say, I thought Charlemagne took a huge L in that I really never knew up until a clip hit my algorithm that he was legitimately like deep in with Rock Nation. You suck it up and hang around people you don't like to do those things. I don't think I can. I already have to do it.
You already do it.
I already have to do it, but I already do it.
You already do it. So what the f*** are you talking about?
Yeah, but I can't do it
you
more.
You do it for work. You do it to hang out with wrestlers. You do it to do sports. You do it all day anyways. What the f*** are we talking about?
I don't know.
You're just talking.
Do I have to do more of it, though?
If you want to make some money, what the f***,
you
man?
do have to choose where you want to go.
Yeah, but you have to do it always with people that you don't with.
Who has the money?
And not always, unless you find some cool
Find some people with money you like.
But, you know.
I don't know.
Because how about this? Right. That's why I said you don't have money to invest. Because you're not actively doing it.
But that's
not a slight. That's you wouldn't be having this convo with me if you had money to invest. You would have been made phone calls, or you would have been hanging out with people that you like.
Because it makes it sound like Rosenberg's broke.
Yeah,
like,
bro, you sound like a shut the f up.
No, you sound like
you don't.
No, you sound like
a you use.
No, you're
sound
saying
like I don't have money. Because shut the f up.
No, you're You know why? Let me tell you why you're.
So Rosenberg, he asks a simple question. He's like, yeah, I think somebody's compromised if they have financial interest in something. And then he starts getting called broke. And then it escalates to them calling him a D, a B, all this other stuff that happens. And then this aftermath goes viral online. And then now they address it. So you have to, if you want my full analysis on the first one, you're going to need it because it's going to give a lot of context to what we're going to talk about today. Just watch that video. It'll have come out already. But this is their reaction.
And now I get also why, seeing it back for the first time, I also get why people think it's related to Rock Nation because of what you said right there. But I wasn't even talking about Rock Nation.
It was Rock Nation before it.
Right.
Yes. And then after it.
Right. Because Rock Nation isn't a place where you go invest.
No, but it was about the essence of the discussion was, and this is maybe a different conversation. I said Charlemagne, I did learn from that fake interview that Charlemagne is a little compromised potentially when talking about things related to Rock Nation.
Right, and that's
because he is in bed with, and you said just because you're investing with people doesn't mean that you're compromised.
Right.
And that's where we ended up.
Right.
This is already funny because Ebro says, I could see why people think it's related to Rock Nation, but I wasn't even talking about Rock Nation. Well, hold on. What do you mean why people think it's related? It's because he's talking about Charlemagne. He said Charlemagne was compromised because he was on the list of people underneath Rock Nation in the New York government website that were pushing for the casino in Times Square that he did not disclose publicly. Never out of his own mouth did he say, I'm involved with this casino ever. But of course, he's going to gaslight you all and be like, you guys could have just looked it up on that random government website that nobody would ever think to look up. Yeah, you could have just done that. Oh, okay. But then one thing that is I don't know if a lot of people caught it, that Ebro mentions here is, and he says, Rock Nation isn't where you go to invest. Why does he say that? I think somebody from Rock Nation hit him up. This is just my opinion. And they were like, yo, buddy, homie, Home Slice, one of our cronies, you better not tell people that they can invest here. We might get into some legal trouble regarding that. We just want to be above board here. So that's why he says that. So if Rock Nation is not where you go to invest and Charlemagne was underneath Rock Nation and then you use that to turn it into a conversation about investments, then what the hell are we doing here? And we're assuming that you knew that you don't invest with Rock Nation. So why the hell are you talking about investments then? The purpose was to just deviate it. And then Rosenberg, he reiterates it again. He's like, this started because I said Charlemagne is compromised. And Rosenberg, he's just going into it. He explains how this all started. And then you can see that he's really trying to get this out of the way. Ebro, he's like, yeah, right. So do you think that they're going to dive a little bit deeper into that and say, well, okay, now that you said Rock Nation is not the place you invest money with, then how is Charlemagne there? Did he invest money there? Well, how was he on there? Was it because of his influence? So the whole investment thing is out the window. Let's talk about that. Is he compromised? Because you said, oh, you could put your money in and you wouldn't be compromised. But here, you're saying that you don't invest with Roc Nation. So what's the deal? Do they address that? Or does it turn into a whole different discussion?
I do want to say, in my defense, I did call him a before I went. And is between guys a way different level than I tried. And then he said, I see your dick, and I raise you. And then I went, well,
God.
now there's only one place to go.
I got to call you.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, watching the discourse, right, and the amount of people that thought I was trying to sun you, which wasn't my intention, is more indicative of how people don't understand the financial world. Right?
Well, because you're trying to say that there's language you were using that did not mean what you were
There's
connoting.
language that's been used towards myself that I was using that people are like, yo, you're being mean. You're acting like he's broke. Not having money, and we covered this yesterday, not having money to invest doesn't equate broke.
No, but I don't think that's it. I don't think it's what you said is how you said it.
Well, I disagree, though, Laura. I think it's both. Yes, it is how he said it, because then after the first time, he started being indignant. And
I was being...
Now he's being that guy.
Because he was trying to say you don't have extra money to invest.
But I don't even think you're saying that. I think you're using terminology. Are you trying to say that when you say you don't have money to invest, that means you're not doing, like, I don't know how much money you have, but you clearly don't have money that you want to put out as an investment.
Right.
Yes.
But it's almost terminology that connotes something different than if you're not in the investing world. You just hear you don't have money. And you're like, no, I have money to invest if I want. And you're like, well, then invest it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to. It's like, well, then you don't have money to invest.
Right.
And I'm like, no, but I do have money. And you're saying, no, but you don't have money to invest.
Right.
But that's a term.
Right.
That would be like me using.
And that's why I say the discourse was around like me trying to, and obviously people who don't look for investments and aren't actively looking for investments, and that's not their life, they think people who invest have money. I know people who invest to try to make money. That's their life.
No, of course not. We're just going to go to a completely different topic. So what does Ebro say here? Oh, yeah, I just saw the discussion. People don't understand the financial. I wouldn't say that Ebro was trying to sun him, but I think Ebro was trying to do his best to get off of that topic as quickly as possible. And that's what he did. And then now we're suddenly talking about finance. And this is what people do. This is what the media does. When they get caught in a stinker, when they get caught in something, they just make something else the topic of conversation. Because what was the major topic of conversation regarding this on social media before Ebro and Rosenberg even start talking? Oh man, he called him broke. He called him broke, and then he called him a B. That's the whole conversation. It's not how did we get here, and it's important that we got here, and what would lead Ebro to go really hard on offense and disrespect Rosenberg for it to just get away. You need to drop like a nuke to get away from, like the guerrilla warfare that's happening right here. People are firing shots at each other. You're like, damn, that's gunshots over there. Oh, wait, hold on. Is that a mushroom cloud? You're looking at the mushroom cloud. You forgot the gunshots that were happening over there so quickly. And Rosenberg just follows along, and they just keep talking about the money topic. So we still did not get an opinion from Ebro on whether he thinks you are compromised in this situation. As a media figure, we did not get that. We have not got that in the first episode. We didn't get that in this episode. He's like, yeah, that's why I'm trying to have this guy who does finances or whatever come on here to talk about. We don't care about finance, or maybe some of y'all care. I don't care. I do not care about finances. All right. I don't want to hear about investments. And then he starts talking about, I know some people that invest. And then he says some people that have money too. And now they're talking about word salad. Like, well, having money is different from having money to invest. And I know some people that, they don't got money, but they got a lot of stuff tied up in investments. What does that have anything to do with anything? And how do you know the position that Rosenberg is in with regards to this? And they continue talking for the majority of the rest of the episode about finances. And Rosenberg goes through his history about how like his grandfather had went broke a couple of times with his own business. And then how, they're not very like risky when it comes to investments. And Ebro actually does give decent game, or it's game that if you're willing to research would actually help you, which is like, when I was young, I got into this thing that's kind of like retirement, but it's not like a 401k. It's like a life insurance thing, and you can take loans on it and all that other stuff. That's actually like good game. I know people that do that. So he does give a nugget here, but come on, people aren't going to look up that nugget. It's going to go take you down a long rabbit hole, and most people aren't willing to do that. And then the craziest thing is that Ebro talks about why he doesn't want to have financial discussions.
And also, too, I think I'll say it again, I said it yesterday. The reason I don't really have financial discussions on any show I've ever been on is because I think it potentially leads people to believe that it's for everyone. It's not. It's really not.
And what do you mean when you say that?
Meaning jumping in on the new hot investment, jumping in on the, putting money aside on the thing that might be a thing. It may not be a thing.
Right.
You have
to be comfortable losing some here.
So here, Ebro's telling us that he doesn't have financial discussions. Meanwhile, and he doesn't want to have financial discussions. Meanwhile, he's the one that brought up finances. And then after he brings up finances and straight up, he calls his man's broke, says he doesn't have money to invest, gaslights him about not having money to invest, then turns the next episode into a financial discussion. And then the next episode after that, he's going to have a guest that talks about finances. So suddenly we go from being compromised in media because you have interests aligned with something that would cause you to hold your tongue when your tongue is what you are respected for, pause on that, in media, to now we're having a financial discussion and we're talking about our financial history and we're having a financial professional on, and now it's just all about finances, and then we're going to sweep it under the rug, and when we look at it in history, it's going to be, oh yeah, these guys started going back and forth, he called them broke, and then he called them and then they brought some finance guys on. And that's all that people are going to remember. But Ebro was the one that brought the finances up. And this is I don't really want to talk about that. You brought it there when it had nothing to do with that. And then you come on and tell people that, well, you actually don't invest with these people. That's not where you go to invest. So if it's not where you go to invest, then money was never the conversation point. And it wasn't. It's all about politics and it's all about influence. And I don't mean politics in regards to like presidential candidates or state candidates or anything like that. I'm talking about how people interact with each other in this space and gain or lose or manipulate influence of the masses. Like, for example, like Jay-Z bringing on that haircut and then cutting the hair. That's politics, because he realized, like, damn, people wasn't feeling this. He thought he was going to pop out with an afro and people are going to say, damn, man, he looking fly. He coming with the fro. He's like, I don't know, Fred Hampton. Just think of any historical figure that Jay-Z was probably trying to LARP as. I don't know. Maybe he thought like Basquiat, because he loves himself some Basquiat. Although Basquiat doesn't have that hairstyle. You could say Jay-Z's previous locks were more inspired by Basquiat than the new afro that he came out with, looking like a Diet Absol. But this isn't about Jay-Z. This is about how things are manipulated. Now, we don't get this conversation. These guys do not have that conversation. It's not about Trump. And then he says, yeah, I could see why people thought that was about... What do you mean that's why people thought it was about it? That's the whole reason that the conversation started. And now we don't get a resolution to it, and people just move on, and everybody forgets it. And this is how everything works. And then you notice how vague he is that he talks about. Like, Rosenberg asked him, he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And he says, well, like hopping on the new thing and the thing that might be a thing and, boom, and that and all that other stuff. Like, dog, what the hell are you talking about? And this is why, this guy doesn't even know about invest, because he could at least say, well, like there's this new company that somebody I know invested in called this. Like, he doesn't name any companies. He doesn't name any investments. He doesn't name any type. The one thing that he does mention is like the life insurance policy thing. That's the only thing of merit, financial/investment wise, that he mentions. Everything else is just a nothing burger, including, but not limited to, the Rock Nation point, where he has to correct it in the next episode and say, well, you don't invest with Rock Nation. Okay, so now you're telling us that you don't put money in, and the people on that list with Rock Nation did not put any of their money in. Okay, so if they didn't put any of their money in, well, you've either got your money or your voice and your brand. So if they didn't put their money, that means Angela Rye, Charlemagne, and the people underneath that list of the casino put their voice and their brand behind it, because it wasn't money like you just told us. So thank you. That's the one thing that we learned from Ebro in this entire conversation, other than the fact that this guy is compromised as well. Add him to the list. We've got Charlemagne, we've got Ebro, and we've got Wayno as well. Like, these people, you never hear them say anything critical about certain people ever. But they've got a lot mainly Ebro, I would say. Mainly Ebro. Wayno is a very balanced guy, generally speaking. Although I haven't seen much from him other than like clips I'll see on Twitter or the Everyday Struggle episodes. He was quite balanced there. Other than that, like, I just don't like to watch anybody else because it's very difficult to generate original ideas if you are watching other people. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Did you catch that? And this was entertaining. I will say that's for sure. Well, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, I said it a third time. And before some fool in the comments tries and points that out, I'll point it out myself. Yeah, I'm going to see y'all on the next one.